Hi and welcome to ATP. In this video I'm going to be talking about the autofocus in video mode on the Panasonic S1H. Okay, so I said in one of my other videos where I talk about the camera in general that one thing I didn't like about it was the autofocus. I've only had the camera for 10 days, so I really hadn't had a chance to look at it, but I actually got it for an extra day. So I spent some time yesterday, a couple of hours, actually looking through the menu, doing a bit of research, changing some settings, testing it all, and I ended up with some settings that I think worked really well. So I actually tested this. You'll see some footage at the end. There's a short 4.5 minute clip of me walking around the garden, walking around this office, walking to and from the camera using the face detect, and you'll see just how well it works. So I think with a bit more tweaking, I can get these settings to work absolutely perfect. But bear in mind that no one size fits all. So depending on what you're doing for autofocus when you're using video mode, you're going to have to tweak the settings anyway. So if you've got fast moving subjects, you're going to need a more sensitive kind of autofocus setting. That's why there's so many different settings in here. So you'll have to adjust for that. It's all about learning. And if you've got a couple of people that are just in a static environment, you're interviewing them or they're being interviewed and they're just moving ever so slightly, very slowly, maybe they're picking things up, then you're going to change the sensitivity right down. So of course, you can't just have one size fits all. Canon have kind of nailed that, but I think with this, you can tweak it to your heart's content to get the perfect autofocus, depending on the situation. So just as a quick general kind of autofocus, I got it working kind of mode. I'm going to run through some settings now. So first of all, I'm going to go into the menu and I'm going to go to the video mode, which is the little red video camera. And I'm going to go down to the autofocus setting. So it's just called focus. And the first one, this is quite important, is you go to the AF custom setting in brackets video and obviously switch that on. Then you go to set, and in there, for my test yesterday, I used AF speed at +5, so autofocus speed +5, because I was moving about doing some fairly kind of quick movements. So I wanted that focus to work quickly. And I had the AF sensitivity to 0, so I wasn't making it particularly sensitive for any reason because it was just general slow movements. Now, if you were in a environment where you've got a static kind of people, like I said before about they're just sitting and talking and maybe moving ever so slowly, then you'd have the AF speed a much slower. So you don't get that kind of jolting movement. So you'll see on the video at the end, when I was filming a camera, this bit and this bit, the camera couldn't work out which one I was focusing on. So you saw it kind of quickly jolt from one to the other. So it was it didn't know which to focus on. So it did hunt a little bit. So if I'd have slowed this right down and had this AF speed on slower, way down to maybe -5, then it would obviously hunt and it would be a lot slower. So it wouldn't be so obvious. So again, that's something these two are probably the most tweakable things you're going to use in autofocus settings. So for what I did yesterday, I had on super fast speed +5, and it seemed to work really well just for moving about. But obviously you can bring that speed down if you've just got a slowish kind of static moving object. Okay, then the AF sensitivity, you can change that depending on, again, on the subject. So if you're trying to capture wildlife, you want it super sensitive, so it's going to pick up on it really quickly. Again, if you've just got two people sitting having an interview, you would have that right down as well. So for an interview situation, AF speed all the way down to, let's have a look. You can do that down to -5, and AF sensitivity you can do down to -3 or +3. So for that situation, down to -3. Super fast sports or wildlife possibly have AF speed at +5 and sensitivity at +3, make it super sensitive. This is stuff I'm looking forward to actually trying when I get the camera, because it looks like I'm going to buy it. So I can actually test it in various situations. But like I said, there's enough tweakability in there to kind of match everything that you're possibly going to film. Okay, so that's the first one. That's probably the most important one that you're going to use depending on what you're filming. Then I've got continuous AF on mode 2. That means it works all the time. Mode 1 means it only works when you're recording video. Again, it's personal preference. I've kept it on mode 2. AF assist light on, focus peaking on, and the AF moving speed I've got to fast. Again, that's something you can tweak, but that's what I had on for yesterday. So next we go into the cog setting and we go down to focus, autofocus. I didn't really tweak these much. I didn't do much in this. So you can see on here, I've got focus shutter priority. Everything else is turned off. I think, let's have a look. I've got a bit of the focus ring for manual assist, but I didn't use that. So I didn't use any of these really. Let's have a look. The next one, I've got shutter autofocus on and I've got assign record to shutter button on. I found that a bit sensitive, so I may turn that off and just use the red buttons. Everything else was off. And then we've got AFC start point 225 area on. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Now the next bit you use is the button on the back here. So I've got that set to S, which I think is, someone said it was stills, but it's not. It means single focus point, or it's just not sure, but I kept it on that. C is for continuous, so it'll keep focusing, but to be honest, I was on S and it's absolutely fine. I need to look up what the S means. I don't think it's for stills, but I had it on S for this, so that's fine. And then you push the button in and you get a whole new menu system up. So I'm going to turn it around, but I'll show you on the screen what I'm talking about. You've got lots of options for your AF mode. And again, like the other setting, this is all dependent on what you're actually filming. So first of all, the first option is you've got human detect autofocus. You can have it as human detect, human and animal detect, or just off. Actually, no, you've got human detect or human and animal detect. And then the AF area, whatever mode you're in, you can select your AF area. As soon as you push that, you get a square on the screen, and then you can pinch to make whatever size you want the focus area to be. So if you're doing a static shot of someone's head, you would put a small box around their face, use human detect, and then it will focus on their face all the time. Works really well. So let's set that. The next one you've got is tracking. So if you've got a static camera and you're tracking something that's going to stay in the frame all the time, you would use the tracking, and I think you just put the let's have a look. You put the track around the area, around the thing you want to track, start focusing, and it will stay on there. So I've got that on the tripod now, and it's, as I move this, the camera I'm using, it's staying on there really well. For the AF tracking, as long as the subject is in the frame and stays in the frame, it's going to track it pretty well. It's doing that really well there, so that's a really cool setting. Then the next one, you've got the 225 area. That's what you normally use for photography, so it's using the most of the focusing area on the screen, and it will just do that. And you can just set that, and then it'll just use its own brain. I've just started recording by using that. So if you're using that, you're relying on the camera to work out of the whole frame what you actually want to record. So I tend not to use that one. Then you've got a zone, a vertical horizontal line. Not sure why I'd use that. I've never had to use that sort of thing, but you can change it yourself. So you can take all of the focus points and make your own shape. Okay, I don't tend to use that one. Then you've got a zone in the middle, which is the oval zone. So it'll just pick whatever you're focusing on in the middle. And again, you can adjust the size. Next one was good, human area detection. So you've got human animal off. So this one you can change from either humans or just animals, or you can turn it off altogether and just have the central point. And then again, you've got the detect area, which you can move about the screen, make bigger or smaller, depending on what you want to be filming. Okay. So the next one is just one area. So I think this is what I used yesterday. So I used the one single area, and then I had human detection on, and then I set the AF area to be about where my head is in the frame. So if I've got a frame like this, obviously I would be slightly more towards the top, but central. So as I walked towards the camera, it was recognizing my face really well, and it just happened to stay on focus. Obviously, if you move too quick, it's going to hunt a little bit, but this is for kind of, again, slower movements. If I wanted to make it super sensitive, I could put the sensitivity right up, and perhaps it would get that walking a bit quicker. Again, it's all kind of tweakable to your heart's content. So depending on what you're doing, you have to change those settings, the sensitivity and things like that. So it's highly malleable, if you like. So you can actually change those. But I think once you've had this camera for a while and you've tested all of these, you'll know instinctively when you turn up to a situation of what you're filming, you think, right, I need to set that to human detect, fast sensitivity, because there's sports people in the shot, things like that. and then you'll know exactly what to do. So I think there's a lot of options in here, but it seems to work really well, especially with the S Pro lenses. Okay, so that one was good. That was one I used, and you're going to see all the footage at the end. They were all with that one, which was the 1-area in brackets human detection with the human on, not animal, and the AF area, like I said, was towards the top but in the center. Okay, and then the last one on there, you've just got pinpoint. So again, if it's something static, you want it to stay on there, maybe something slow walking across the screen or something, or you just want to focus on one pinpoint area, then you would use that. And again, you can select the area and just put it over there and it will stay focused on that. So that's kind of it. I hope that makes some sense with regards to the video. I am impressed with the autofocus on video mode. I take back everything I said in the other video where I said it's useless, because once I'd actually worked out on the GH5 how to do it, after everyone was saying how bad it was, it actually started working pretty well. And it's still not perfect. It's still not as good as the Canon dual pixel autofocus, but this I think is very close. It's actually really good. I don't tend to use autofocus when filming much, but for run and gun stuff, for interviews, for when you're moving about, maybe I'm doing some vlogging, then it's going to work really well. So try those settings out if you've got this camera. If you're thinking about buying this camera and you've been put off by what people are saying about autofocus, then maybe rent a copy, go into a shop, try it out, and you'll see for yourself. So what I'm going to finish with now is just a few clips of what I did yesterday. Excuse the garden, it's no mow May, so we haven't mown the lawn or anything, so you get lots of lovely wildlife in there. And the office is a mess, so you just have to accept that and take it as it is. And also, you might notice on some of the footage that I do cut my own hair. There may have been a stray hair somewhere. But anyway, enjoy the video. You can see on here that the autofocus does work, so those are the settings I'd recommend for now. So thanks a lot. Remember to give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do, and we'll see you on the next video.